Hey guys, you're listening to Nerdspresso, and it's podcast day, and this has become my favorite day of the week. And holy cannoli, guys, I got a really great episode for you this week. I hope you enjoy listening to it as much as I enjoyed recording it. And I know I've pretty much said that every episode so far has been my favorite, but it's specifically true about this episode because I got the incredible privilege to sit down with Black Lightning himself, Cress Williams. And it is just a fun, super laid back conversation that we talk about Black Lightning, and we talk about how he got the role, and all this stuff that he's gotten to do in the past, and other dream superhero roles that he would love to play. And it really, I feel like Cress really opened up for us and just had some fun and let us in on some secrets. And so I really, really hope you enjoy this episode because it's a lot of fun. And I'm very lucky and very humbled that he allowed me to come talk to him and got to record an episode for you guys. So it was also, we were recording at his house, and so you might hear his adorable little baby in the background every so often. And there's just some at-home atmosphere that, I thought about editing it out, but it gives the podcast a more down-home feel and just really, personal. And so it's at-home life. And sometimes when you're at home with people, it's just kind of crazy and chaotic, and you're trying to grill pork chops, and there's babies running around and dogs and all sorts of stuff. So we really get to have a nice, fun, laid-back inside look to Cress and his family and all of that. So I really, really hope that you enjoy this. So go get your drink of choice. I'm about to go get my coffee because it's raining here and it's kind of dreary and cold. So I hope the weather is nicer where you are. But sit back, curl up on your couch, snuggle your pet if you have one, drink your drink of choice, and let's have some fun. This episode is sponsored by Smuggler's Coffee. We've had some really delicious coffees from Smuggler's. Smuggler's makes their coffee unique by adding barrel aging techniques to their roasts. They find barrels from some of the best breweries in their area, and barrel aging adds the flavors that were trapped in those barrels to the beans without any trace of the alcohol. It's a unique bean that makes an amazing cup of coffee in the morning or that perfect after-dinner dessert coffee. They have fun and crazy artwork gracing their packaging with themes from D&D, Star Wars, music, and more. Whether you like sugar and cream in your coffee, you like a little Irish jig in your mug, or you like to drink your coffee as black as your soul, they've got the perfect cup of coffee for you. Head over to store.smugglerscoffee.com to find your perfect brew of coffee today. Started. So we might have to kind of lean into the microphone here because, like I said, I'm podcasting on a budget.
Yeah, no.
But it's a really good mic. It should typically pick up.
Pretty fancy.
I got it because I got this color because it matches the case on my computer.
Oh yeah.
So
it's like
I
a
like
dark
this,
blue.
like a dark teal-ish.
Okay, cool.
Something, I don't know. But how are you?
I'm good.
Yeah.
Good. Just
Enjoying
like a nice,
your
lazy Saturday.
Yeah, and you're enjoying being off work until they call you back?
Until they call me back.
Until
they drag me back.
Dare I ask this early in the podcast if there's an official coming back date for you yet?
There's not. I mean, there is an official coming back.
Right. It has been announced. Black Lightning has been announced for season 4.
Season 4. Woohoo!
Woo!
So no, I mean, the only thing I just assume that it'll be the same date as it was last year, which I
Y'all started June?
No, July.
Oh, was it that late?
Yeah, it was but it was early July. So
maybe I'm thinking because Dustin started prepping in June.
That might have been it, yeah.
So, but then you don't start till they start rolling cameras.
Yeah. And last year we built a new suit last year.
Yeah.
So there was fittings that were happening that were in June as well. But I'm assuming it's July. I'm hoping it's July because we have vacations planned all the way up until June 23rd.
I was about to say, we kind of talked about your vacation plans earlier, and y'all sound like y'all gonna be busy.
Yeah, thankfully.
That's good, though.
Well, it's weird. It's weird, like, we have a New York trip, which is purely vacation. And we were...
But you just need a vacation sometimes.
No, without question. The weirdest thing is planning a vacation for what is your home. Like, we're going back to California,
right.
And it's a vacation, but it's like, this is our home. It's weird that we have to pay to go home.
Because were you born and raised in California?
So I was raised in California. I was born in Heidelberg, Germany.
Okay.
Yeah. My dad, it's just strictly my dad was in the army at the time. And he was stationed in Heidelberg, Germany, and he called my mom. This is the story, as the story goes. They were married.
We're just getting into the story right off the bat.
And he just said, come out here, I want to make a baby. And so my mother came to Germany, and they made me. And right after I was born, we moved to back to Chicago. But then my parents split up when I was very young, and so I moved to California when I was 3. Me and my mother. So I've been a California kid since I was 3 years old.
Well, you're an actor, so California is a good place to be.
It is, right? It was kismet. I don't know if I had grown up in Chicago. I don't know what would have happened.
I don't know. Chicago has a pretty hopping film industry now.
Yeah.
I know a lot of
improv, and they got stage. They got theater too, a little bit.
They've got a lot of those cop shows.
Yeah, it's cold. Oh my god.
Oh, it's so cold.
It's
so
really.
Yeah, that wind coming off of Lake
Windy
Michigan.
City for nothing.
It's cold.
Yeah, I was looking at something today. A couple days ago, because the All-Star game is in Chicago, like as we speak, and they were like, it's single digits, and I was like, wow.
Nope.
Wow.
Hard pass.
Because even here in Atlanta, you don't see single digits.
We get maybe like 25 degrees, and we're like, y'all,
rarity.
It's cold.
Right? It's not like that's not the norm for winter.
No.
It's a rare thing.
And see, so do you remember any of the Chicago winters? Because you said you were 3 when you moved to
So I don't remember
California.
I don't really remember, but then there was a period of time when right when I finished 6th grade, my mother decided she wanted to go back to Chicago. So we moved, like right after I finished 6th grade, we moved to Chicago. We were only there for like half a year.
Before winter.
Before she was like, I don't like this. We're going back home. But I remember that winter, and it wasn't even like a harsh winter. Like they were like, this is a pretty mild winter. Like it wasn't that much snow and things like that. But what I remember is that no matter how many layers you put on, the cold gets through.
Yeah.
No matter how much, coats and thermals and this and mittens and scarves and hats, and you step outside and the cold gets
just
through.
Cuts right through you.
Right.
And see, I'm from Texas, so while it gets cold and Texas has its weird weather stuff, it not that cold, but I'm used to the 105.
Right.
It's a little bit drier out there than it is here in Georgia.
Right. Yeah.
But here, it's the South. And but I can say we've been to LA a lot last year.
Yeah.
I love California weather so much.
You really
it really is perfect.
Yeah, exactly. Once you're away from it, you're like, you don't realize how good you actually had it. I used to have a motorcycle, and to be able to January, February, it's not a regular thing to be on a motorcycle, no problem. Going, this is. Yeah. And most of the world can't do this.
No. So, and here you never know what it's going to do, because right now it's kind of cool outside, but yesterday it was really hot.
Yeah.
It was like back up in the 70s, but then like last weekend it snowed. How much snow did y'all get?
Just a little bit, just like a dusting. You guys got a lot.
3 inches of snow.
You guys got a lot of snow.
So much snow.
That's
and it big snowflakes. Right. And it was ridiculous.
That's the thing is weird about the South. It's like, because with California, like, you can look out and you go, this is what the day is going to be. Right. And you can plan accordingly. But with like here, and Chicago actually is the same way as well, where you can get rain when you didn't expect it was going to be rain. Like there's all these things you can't plan for the unexpectedness of it all. So it's kind of wacky.
Well, the first time we went to LA last year, it rained 3 times in the same week that we were there.
Yeah.
And we were like, really?
Yeah.
This much rain?
Global warming.
Yes. Okay. So, but it was like 60s in the like late afternoon, evening, but then it was like high 70s. Yeah. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited.
I was looking at it today. I was just like, it's like they're, because I'm looking at our weather here.
Yeah.
And it's like 70s there right now, like just nice kind of mid 70s. It's like, yeah, that's what it,
Yeah, we're starting this podcast episode off real great with talking about weather. So, but we kind of hinted at it. But I am sitting here with the fabulous Cress Williams, who plays Black Lightning himself, Jefferson Pierce. So, and it was one of those things. So, Dustin is your superhero bodyguard.
Yes. Yes.
That is what we call them.
Partner in crime, all of it.
Yes. And also the wonderful Chris Burns. They were the dynamic duo that helps you step into those literal shoes.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it was so funny because going into this past season 3, I was watching Young Justice Outsiders. And Jefferson is such a huge
major part of that.
He's just like Justice League dad all the way.
Yeah.
And there was just one part where I was like, wow, Cress's casting is spot on. Because he literally looks like you.
Right.
Especially with your hair was growing out and the beard was growing out going into season 3. I was just like, they did real good.
Yeah. It's kind of weird because, it would be in a perfect world, it'd be this great synergy where Young Justice and, Black Lightning are always, talking to each other in a weird way. They don't talk at all.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of this perfect synergy of things that were happening because huge cartoon fan. So I was watching Young Justice back when it was on Cartoon Network, and then we got the whole streaming service, and we've been watching Young Justice, and to pick it up and see where he was, to see his hair and to see his beard, wait, that's exactly where I am right now. That's
exactly.
Really
it was because they did. I don't think they talked about it at all.
No, they didn't at all.
But it really went well together.
Totally.
So
I mean, even the suit, because I was watching his suit, and then when I saw the suit that we made, it's like you can see they're very similar and inspired by each other. But again, they didn't hammer this out, and it's just kind of like Providence that they are so much alike.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I started watching it, and I obviously am a huge Batgirl fan, but Megan is my girl when it comes to Young Justice. Hello, Megan. She was my first cosplay.
No way, really?
Yeah, she was my first cosplay. Dustin painted me green. And we did kind of like a Young Justice Teen Titans with the kids and everything. And
that's awesome.
It was a lot of fun, but that was my go hard or go home first cosplay was paint me green. Let's go.
You're not half stepping if you're going to get painted green.
Nope. But you got a new suit in season 3.
Thank you so much.
So because you had a very beginning of season 1, you had kind of a more comic, booky, very simple, but it paid a lot of tribute to the comic book.
Yeah. So I mean, we used to call that the classic suit. Which you only see really kind of via flashbacks, really, because it's not the present day suit. And then we had this very armor filled, I guess you would call it more of a tactical suit, which was kind of the main suit, and it was 40 plus pounds and didn't allow me to move much.
And you had to have 2 people.
Yeah.
Dustin and Chris
to get dressed,
to get you into it.
When it originally started, it took about an hour to get dressed.
Jeez.
That first suit, it was 2 people and an hour just to get dressed. And
that's insane.
We streamlined some things, and it was still, we got it down to probably about 20 or 30 minutes, but it was 40 plus pounds. And
see, I've been in the costume shop, and I've held that suit, and it's the weird thing is, it's not like a solid suit. It's like neoprene kind of.
Neoprene starts, and then but there's all these pieces, armored pieces,
hard armor pieces.
Yeah, they didn't give at all.
Yeah, and you wouldn't think it's that heavy, but it was.
When you put it together, plus the thing with the neoprenes, you sweat a lot. So so and the suit holds the moisture, so then it would also get heavier,
right,
with the sweat.
Yep, but and then you want to hydrate and keep
exactly
so that you don't sweat it all out and get dehydrated, and then it's just
so thankfully we redesigned a whole new suit that takes like maybe 20 minutes and one person.
That's awesome
to get into, and it's a lot more movable because I was in it like a lot
because it's mostly soft pieces.
Exactly.
So, but it's so gorgeous.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because it looks more like a Young Justice suit.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, that's what we should be doing.
I love that. I love that you, out of all the CW shows, you had this really nice like flashback suit, but then they went straight into like Batman armor for you.
Right.
But everyone else got these really weird like soft legit leather suits.
Yes.
Like Arrow, he had a leather suit.
Yep.
Grant started out in a leather suit.
Yep.
And you didn't get that at all.
No.
Would you have preferred that?
Of course. I mean, it was funny because like when we went to go do when you're in the fraternity of superheroes that then for the first time you start really looking at everybody's gear and you're envious about it, Yeah. And I would look at them and I'm like, oh my God, they have it so easy. What is that? And but I'm
sure like at least with Steven, he had the leather suit, but he just had the mask. He didn't have the cowl or anything like that.
Right.
So, and his is just kind of like evolved throughout the leather stages.
Yeah.
Whereas Grant started leather suit, urethane cowl.
Yeah.
And that's a sweat factor.
Oh yeah. I mean, I
itself.
think they've, over the years they've everybody has gone through evolutions and we've gone through evolutions and
Grant's suit is perfect right now. They don't need to change it
at all.
No,
he seemed pretty happy with it.
So gorgeous.
I think he seemed pretty happy with it. As an actor, he was talking about maybe just like the cowl, I think rubbing at times.
Yeah.
But honestly, that's pretty minor. I mean, when we were all together for the crossover, and you get together and you see everybody for the first time, so everybody's looking at each other's suits and talking about the good things and the bad things or whatever, and they all seemed fairly happy. I remember Elastic Man was really surprised because
Hartley
with my suit and the mask I wear.
This is my favorite story. So this story has circulated.
Oh, is it really?
I've heard it from Dustin. I've heard it from Burns. I've heard it from you. But I've also heard it like interviews you've done.
Right.
And it's just around the internet. This story is like one of the best.
Well, I mean, I think overall everybody, because I gotta admit, and it's not just like, I think our suit really is the most detailed. I mean, because it's got practical lighting, it's got like so many different textures to it. So everybody was just like, it's not just a leather suit. Like it's just so much more. So everybody's just like, oh my God, that suit is amazing. And when Hartley saw me take off the mask in between a take, he was like, wait, what did you do? What happened?
What?
And he's like, they told me that the way they do it is the only way they could do it. And where his mask is glued to his face, and so once it's on his face, it's on his face all day long. He cannot take it off until the end of the day.
And they just touch up the glue as it comes off and sweats and everything. And us cosplayers know that life.
Yeah, where you
get to ride in style over here.
Yeah, which, I mean, it was a design that they came up with like day one.
Really?
Yeah, we've always had it that way, like since the very beginning. Every suit, from the classic to the armored to the present suit, was always this technology of gluing tiny magnets to my face and having magnets in the mask, and so it just magnetizes and it just goes on my face, and then you can peel it off in between takes, and you're still touching up glue, but you don't have to wear the mask 24/7.
Right, and you don't have like the black eye makeup like Hartley has to wear either.
Right. And so he was like, I remember he was like,
they lied to me.
This is the only way they could do it, and I'm like, they lied because we do it this way.
Yeah.
But. So he was quite jealous of that.
I wonder if he's gonna go back to his makeup people and be like,
"Let's do it this way." Yeah. Well, because it's great. I mean, it's you're in long days. I remember years ago, my wife and I were watching the most recent Star Trek Discovery and seeing a lot of the people in their masks, you know, the full on makeup.
Right.
And I played a Jim Hadar in Deep Space Nine, like
okay.
Actually the first Jim Hadar in Deep Space Nine. So, you know, I did the full face mold, like entire head mold, and I had a full mask, and it's hard. I mean, you know, I had to be at work at like, you know, probably like 3-4 in the morning.
Yeah. It's a process.
And to be in it, and then you can't eat.
Yeah.
You know, because they're like, well, you can't eat because the oils will counteract the adhesive. And so if you eat, you have to like open your mouth really wide and make sure that no food touches any of your lips. So it just kind of throws off your whole thing. I was like, I don't know how people do this like as a series regular, how they would do this day in and day out.
Oh, the glamorous life of being an actor.
Right? Oh my God. It was fun for a minute because I I like the process. I mean, I'm one of the few people who likes getting face molds and things like that.
You like that transformative process.
Yeah, but also I think it doesn't like the process of, you know, when they're like, okay, we're gonna make a cast of your head. You know, and you have to sit in a chair, and they cover you, and they make sure you can breathe.
Plaster.
They cover like I guess I'm not a claustrophobic person.
That's good.
So yeah, because they were like, some people flip out and they can't take this.
Yeah.
And I fall asleep. Like I go into a Zen space, and I'm like, this is the opportunity.
I feel like it's either one of two reactions. You either like feel claustrophobic and you kind of lose your shit because your face is literally covered completely in plaster. You can't move. You have 2 little nose holes. Like your eyes are covered. You're not going anywhere for a while.
Yeah.
Or you just you're like, okay, nap time.
Totally. Well, I've always been that way. I mean, I've done body cast because I did the first suit for Black Lightning. And I had to do an entire body cast where they literally put you up and they put like racks under your wrists to keep your arms in a certain position. Ugh. And like they just start plastering your body, and you got to sit there.
But at least your armor pieces fit.
No, totally. But I was like, no, this is an opportunity in life to like just go to my mind palace, and then if I'm in my mind palace long enough, then I will eventually fall asleep.
Do you like meditate at all?
I don't.
Just in life in general.
Sometimes I do. Not like organized meditation, but I have a pretty active mind palace, as I call it, taking it from the whole Sherlock reference.
Yeah.
But because whether I'm working out in the gym or if I'm in bed, I don't fall asleep quickly like most people or like a lot of people.
Yeah.
My mind just goes, and I just go into like places.
Well, you're a creative.
Yeah.
So, and I feel like as creatives, like it's hard to shut off your brain sometimes.
It is.
So I was awake at 2 a.m. the other night, and I was just like, you know, I could start a Twitch channel, and I could do this show, and I have all these ideas, and I literally went and wrote them down because I was like, if I don't write this down, I might not remember it in the morning.
That's good that you even do that, yeah.
But I was like, it's 2 a.m. I shouldn't be thinking about this at all. I should be asleep.
Sleep? Yeah. I don't know about... Recently, I've had these moments where I wake up like early morning, and not wake up like it's time to get up, but that first kind of moment of waking up, and I realize, and I'll doze off, and then I'll wake up, and I'll doze off, and I have lyrics going through my head.
Interesting.
And I'm like, why is this song going through my head? I don't know. Should I get up? And then actually I'm asleep. And then I wake up again, and the lyrics are going over and over and over again. I'm like, what is that? But I just, you know, there's different times of the day that I think I'm in somewhat of a meditative state. I love my mind.
That's good.
I love hanging out in there.
That's good. It's good, and it's good that you're comfortable escaping there. Yeah. Because not a lot of people are.
Well, I mean, I grew up primarily an only child. Like my half brother didn't come into the world till I was like 17 years old. So most of my life I was an only child. So you better be comfortable with being yourself and being, you know, and
entertaining yourself.
I spent a lot of time in my room, and my mom was a single parent, so yeah, it was a lot of times by myself and entertaining myself. So I have a healthy internal life, I guess.
That's good. That's good that it's you refer to it as a healthy internal.
Yeah, it works.
And you're not just like, I have to escape.
No, I have to escape. I work out a lot of things. Like I like when I'm in the car going to and from the set. Like it's like, oh, I'm gonna be in the car and
Yep.
Me and my mind palace, we go. And when I'm working out, me and my mind palace, we go. And unfortunately, the only time when I'm like, okay, it's time to go to bed, me and my mind palace, we go.
Yep.
You know, so.
So, so you're drinking out of a Superman coffee mug.
I am, yes.
So I know you play Black Lightning.
Yeah.
But I've heard you're a huge Superman fan as well.
Yeah. Growing up, I always was, because I think, you know, very simply, flight has just always fascinated me.
Yeah.
The ability to fly. And so there was Superman, and then, you know, he's the strongest.
Yeah.
Like, and that drew me. And then I think the idea of being this kind of, like, outsider. Like, he's, you know, not from here, not quite fitting in. Also, I've always identified with that in everything that I've been drawn to. The outsider, the person who didn't quite fit in. I think as a child, I was that way. I grew up in Orange County, California, which it's Disneyland, basically.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's a suburb, and it's a huge suburb, and it's predominantly, even to this day, it's probably predominantly white. So it's like, of course, I didn't quite always fit in. So all of those types of things fascinated me, and even to this day, like, especially flight, because I mean, I just we've been watching Star Trek, and it just like I was like, I just would love to be able to just be in, like, it's kind of a Battlestar reference, but be a Viper pilot, or to be an X-wing fighter pilot, just to be able to just be out in space. And just
I am a pilot's kid. My dad's a pilot.
Like a real pilot.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Like my dad flies for American.
Wow.
And he was in the Air Force.
Okay.
And my brother is also a pilot.
Nice.
And so, like, I grew up in a very aviation-oriented family.
Yeah.
My brother kind of caught the bug super early when he was, like, a wee kid. My dad pulled back when he was, like, a teenager. It was like, I know we've kind of just, like, made this a thing, but we might want to see if this is actually what he wants to do.
Or is he just being pushed into it?
Yeah. So it's good that he was like, do it if you want.
Right.
But, you know, I grew up going to air shows and, like, all sorts of stuff like that. Just, you know, flying. Like, I literally fly wherever I go most of the time, because I had the privilege of getting to be a pilot's kid. And
that's awesome.
Yeah. And so I totally...
Yeah, it's so freeing.
It is. And, you know, there was a moment when I watched Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
When she was, like, flying the fighter jets and everything, and flying the what is it? It's not the quad. Is it the quad? Yeah, because they had the Quinjet in the later. So it was the quad jet.
Yeah.
So, and I was just like, maybe, do I want to be a pilot too? No. That's too much math and science for me.
That part of it probably. I just want to be Superman, so I don't need a license. I just take off and just go.
So,
but space. I mean, we were watching. And if people haven't finished it, I apologize on the spoilers. But we were watching The Good Place.
Oh, it's so good! I just finished it last week.
Man. And so so the whole thing about, like, finally being in a good place and people getting bored and all this other stuff. Like, at one point we were watching it and I paused it and I'm like, babe, they haven't, if I was in a good place, I mean, the first thing I want to do is build a starship.
Yeah.
And space is infinite. So I'd never get bored because I would just go out exploring planets and all these different things. And so she's like, yeah, I know, right?
That would be so much fun.
Right? I mean, that would be amazing. Go to this planet, check that out. Go to that planet, check that out.
So, ironically, you keep talking about flying and space.
Yeah,
which segues me into, you also like Green Lantern.
Yes.
So, you're a Jon Stewart guy.
I am a huge Jon Stewart guy. I mean, again, it goes back to the flight.
Yep.
I think also being, influenced by the Justice League, before Young Justice, the Justice League. And
the Bruce Timm animated.
Yeah.
Oh, I loved it. It was so good.
That's such a good show. It was such a good show.
Such a good show. I mean, and I loved that John was the Green Lantern
for that show. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For that.
And they were he was the one that they chose to put forefront.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and just, again, I guess it's just, I'm drawn to the freedom. I mean, the freedom of flight, the freedom of being able to go out and explore space, the freedom of, like, whatever you can think up with this ring you can do and you can imagine. He's just kind of like, if it's like Superman, and then there's Jon Stewart, you know, there's the Green Lantern for me that I was just like, yeah, I really identify with those characters, and in a perfect world would love to be able to play them. But
I know, I was about to say, I know you really like deep down in your heart, you really want to be Jon Stewart on screen.
I would totally. Oh my god, yeah. I mean, because the green screen flying thing is probably like one of my it's favorites. Like it's the closest to feeling like, oh, I'm really doing it, you know. So
yeah. But to just, I feel like you would be able to like really put yourself in that role and just.
Yeah,
you've got the ring.
I do. I have rings upstairs.
I was about to say, if you got to play a Green Lantern, would you keep the ring? Even if they said you couldn't, would you keep it?
They would find it missing. They would find it missing, and it would probably be around my neck for all of my days.
This is not proof or evidence or anything of any future shenanigans that might go on. It's
exactly. Fine. It was somebody else. It was somebody else.
It's totally fine.
Oh, totally.
So.
Yeah.
But I love, you've literally got yourself on a shelf up here. Yep. You've got a Black Lightning. You've got Green Lantern. You've got Pump. I don't know what that word is. Pop Funko Pops.
Yes.
Whatever they are.
Yeah. These are kind of some of the things we picked up over the years. I mean, some of them are intentional. Like, friends got me the Green Lantern. That Black Lightning is actually not even like a one you could buy. It's one that was...
The Total Justice one? Is that the one you're... Or no, are you talking about literally you? The
one that's literally me was actually made from the guy who did the 3-dimensional scan of me. He was like, hey, do you want a statue of that? I'm like, sure. So that's that. I have another like one of me that's actual like, mass produced and everything.
Is it one of like the Sideshow? Does Sideshow do one of you?
Somebody did. I'm not sure.
If they don't, they should.
But they haven't even done a Funko of me yet.
Rude.
Yeah, I know.
You don't even get like a San Diego Comic-Con special pop Funko?
No, some of these we got actually the first Comic-Con we went to for Black Lightning, and it was probably the best party. It was that first year, I think it was Warner Brothers had a party, and at the party they gave you vouchers, and inside the party they had a big Funko booth.
Ooh.
And you could get Funkos just for free. So I got like a bunch of vouchers and like got a bunch of Funkos for free while you're partying. So it was really fun. But that's where a lot of these.
But hey, Funko, Cress needs a Funko of himself as Black Lightning.
I know. I thought
it's weird that you don't have one. It was just a matter
of time, but it hasn't happened yet. But
that's weird.
You know,
everyone else got one in what, season 1, season 2?
I would imagine. Maybe it's coming. Maybe it's now.
Hopefully.
I don't know.
We'll make it happen. We'll start a Twitter campaign.
You could do that now.
So speaking of your Superman mug, this is one of my favorite parts of the episode is we get to talk about coffee.
Oh yeah, awesome.
So we are drinking from Smuggler's Coffee. We are drinking their Tomb of Caffeination. I was told you love espresso.
I do.
And so Tomb of Caffeination is an Italian-inspired espresso blend.
Yes.
And ironically, your lovely wife, Kristen,
is Italian.
Yeah,
so it's a perfect meld.
And it's a D&D based coffee.
Totally.
And you're a huge D&D nerd.
I am. And it was funny because on the back of the package, my wife pointed out that there was a dragon on the back of it. And in the latest campaign that I'm playing, I play a Dragonborn. So.
What is your Dragonborn's name?
His name is Torin.
Love that.
Yes.
And he's a bronze.
Dragonborn. Electric, lightning dragon. He's a sorcerer.
That's awesome.
And who's obsessed with getting his wings.
Ooh.
But you have to get pretty high up. I think it's level 14. You don't get your wings until...
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
It takes a while to get the wings.
I haven't really played a Dragonborn.
It's my first time ever.
I have a Dragonborn that I made for like a one-shot or something with the kids or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I haven't really gotten to explore what all Dragonborns can do. But I didn't know that was like a thing.
It's like level 14 they get wings. And
he's just counting down the days.
Totally. And it's so funny because I realize because I've been playing Dungeons and Dragons like since college, and I actually, at the time when I started playing in college, it was like second edition was the thing. It's like dating myself, the fact that it's like, wait, whoa, second edition. This cat's old. But anyway, I was playing second edition. You're not that old. And we played like pretty regularly for a big chunk of time. It was all second edition. And then, life got busy and I didn't play for a lot of years. So at the time when it was second edition, there was no Dragonborn or whatever. My very first character was a ranger. I believe his name was Xavier. And he was like a lycanthrope. Like he would shapeshift. Yeah, like at times.
Interesting.
And so that was fun. But I've always, I think it's always best to like try, for me personally, is to try to pattern certain things that come natural to you.
Right.
Into your character. That way you stay on character.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you unless you're really, really diligent about it, you can create a character that's completely different from you, but you have to like consciously always be doing.
Right.
Because I hate it when people don't play their character.
Yeah.
I'm like, you just kind of like, I made this character, but I'm just going to do whatever I want. Like,
yeah.
No.
And you're like, but would your character really do that?
Right.
Or is that what you would do?
Exactly.
So we have these guys are going to get so sick of me talking about this game, but we have a Star Wars D&D game that we play.
Nice.
And it's in the KOTOR era. Okay. And so my character is a former Sith assassin. Former Sith assassin. Raised Sith. And then she was like, you know what? This ain't for me. Bye. And so it's been really fun getting to explore because she doesn't want to be part of any like organized.
Oh, so she doesn't want to go back to the Jedi.
She doesn't want to be a Jedi. She studied under a Jedi, but she's never really been a part of the Jedi Order.
Okay.
She obviously left the Sith like order.
Yes.
As an organization. And she's also studied with like the Night Sisters and stuff like that. She's
wants like, to. Because I just finished rewatching for the second or third time the Clone Wars. She's like what's her name? Why is it bald? And it's she's bald and
Asajj.
Ventress. Yeah, she's like very
except
much
not as
Ventress.
evil.
Right.
In general.
Yeah. Okay, I got you.
Yeah. Asajj, I feel like still has a lot of that like Sith nature to her.
Yeah.
Whereas
so your character probably consciously decided to leave. Asajj was like betrayed, which is what made her leave. Yeah.
And so I've had our fabulous DM has very wonderfully, like, because we're in KOTOR era, he tied my character to, she's the daughter of Darth Malak. Ooh. Which is like a whole thing. And so there's all these things that she's having to deal with, and everyone's like, you're like Sith royalty, and she's like, y'all, I just want to like do my own thing.
Right.
Leave me alone.
Right.
And they're like, no, you have to come do, and she's like, ugh, okay. And she only knows Darth Malak of who he was as like a figure.
Okay.
She never knew him.
Father.
Yeah, no, she never knew him as a father figure or as a person that she ever met.
Right, okay.
She just knows him as, he's Darth Malak. He's like this big head honcho in the Sith and stuff.
Yeah.
And so that's been really fun to explore because I'm like, they'll like give me these like tidbits of like dark stuff and they're like, you should like do this and maybe this dark power will manifest. And I'm like, ooh, that looks like so much fun. But then I was like, Ava wouldn't do that. I want to do that.
But
Ava wouldn't do that.
Right.
So
it's like where the acting comes in, right? The whole thing of like, you have to like focus in on like, okay, what would my character really do?
And I'm glad I started playing Dungeons and Dragons because that's really helped my improv skills as an actor. Mm-hmm. In all artsy stuff that I do, I'm very technical. Like I do theater and I thrive off the scripts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
With music, I'm very technical. I read the music. I'm not an improver at all for like jazz and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And acting was kind of the same way. I was never comfortable improving. Like I couldn't really ever figure it out.
Right.
So this has really helped me like work on that in a very informal manner.
Yeah.
And so it's really helped because it forces me to think on my feet.
Oh, totally.
And
it's the best of both worlds. I mean, I think, for me with acting, I came in just purely by desire and instinct, and had virtually no technique in the sense that when I started studying, like I didn't study in high school. A lot of people did. They started in high school, and I didn't, and I took a class here, a class there in high school, but then once it wasn't really till I got to college, and when I got to college, I looked around and I'm like, God, I'm way behind. Like everybody else has done high school shows and this and that, and I remember distinctly being in an acting class watching this girl get up and do this monologue, and I thought it was just phenomenal. And my acting mentor, he just proceeded to break her down. He was just like, yeah, you have technique. And so if you turn your head this way, you're gonna get this response, and that, and it was technique was foreign to me. I was like, I don't have technique. I'm just all raw instinct. And
sometimes that's better.
Yeah, but it's like it's kind of in a sense the way almost like a Jedi journey, right? It's like the idea of like I came in with raw instinct, and I remember watching her, and he broke her down to the point of tears, and then he was like, "Okay, now go." And then she did something that was like on another level. Yeah. And I was like, I want technique. And then it took a lot of years of training to finally get to the point where I realized, I have technique now. And then it was this reverse thing where I was relying on technique, and I needed to like then find the balance back to, because sometimes, when things aren't going well. Right. As whether you're on stage or you're in film or it's just not your night. Yeah. Technique's what you rely upon. Right. Those things.
You rely on the memorization and the feeling of doing this repetitively. Exactly. And that muscle memory of just like, if all else fails, I at least know where I'm walking to.
Exactly. Those things where you say, or the quote phoning it in, or these things that you haven't, but then, I guess the perfect instance is that melding of technique and raw. Right. That just kind of, it's like a surfer catching the perfect wave. So I think it's like, it's got that balance of like the improv with the technique. Yeah. Creates something amazing.
And I just started with a new acting coach. His name is Vince Pisani. Okay. He's amazing. He's a working Atlanta actor. Oh, nice. And he really helps me get out of the technique. Yeah. And get more into like eye contact. Let's listen to each other. It's not about verbatim on the page. Right. It's about the feeling of the scene and the message and stuff like that. Exactly. So yeah. And it's really helped. I just did some auditions the other day, and I'm like, even if nothing comes of them, like I'm really proud of like the step forward that I feel like I've taken with him. Yeah. So.
Well, because my wife Kristen's an actress as well, and being here in Atlanta, so she's doing self-tapes constantly. Me being here, so then I have to also do self-tapes because we're not like in Los Angeles. Right. And so we're constantly like acting, rehearsing things and playing things and just kind of enjoying that, because so much of it, this idea, unfortunately, it just is what it is, but this idea that you audition for something and the best person gets the job is oftentimes very false. So all you can really do is just enjoy the doing of it, right. And and that ability to, I've always talked to, because I used to teach acting, I taught acting right before Black Lightning. I taught for like about 8 years. Oh, okay. Where I would teach on a Saturday. So I was still like a working actor. Right. And then I would teach on a Saturday. And, I love jazz and I love musicians. And so I think I liken it to that, where, some of the great jazz musicians, like a John Coltrane or these musicians, like they would practice and practice like scales forever and a day. Yeah. So that became like you can't really riff until you've practiced and practiced. And then it's unconscious. And at some point you have to then trust that the foundation is unconscious. And so no matter how far I go, everything in me will always get me back to ground zero. Like I will. And I used to tell like certain actors that I taught, I was like, look, you're at a place now in the way that you work and your training that you will never suck. Like if this is amazing and this is suck and this is like you are now where you're never gonna suck, and you have to trust that. Yeah. And once you let go of that, then now you're gonna really be able to go. Now, not every actor is that way. Right. You have to work to get that way, but it's just that place of like, if you work the fundamentals 24/7, then you reach a point where you then have to know, I know the fundamentals.
Right.
And so now I can really sing and really go, and the fundamentals will actually take care of me before I even, realize it. I have that even on set. At times I'm just like, oh, pure instinct is what saved me in this moment.
Yeah.
So.
Like, do you go back and watch a take and you're just like, that uncalculated moment was way more satisfying as a final product than like all these things that I tried to do.
Yeah, I mean, well, what it is like, I think over a lot of years of realizing, I'm trying not to try as hard anymore. Like,
because if you try too hard, you get in your head.
Oh yeah.
And sometimes it's hard to get out.
It is. It's hard to get out, and that's where you're forcing things, and when you're and then like surprises don't happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I've tried to just give myself a lot of grace, like do the prep work and trust that I've done the prep work. And then so when it's time to actually go film, you just got to let it go. And even, and sometimes the hardest thing is you do a good take and everybody's like, oh, that's great. And then you're like, okay, now I got to it's hard to let a good take go.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But are you like, okay, I know that was a good take, but let's just do one for safety.
Right. Well.
And then the safety one, you're just like, oh.
Well, because that's the thing is when you do a good take, when you know it's a good take and people are saying it's a good take and then they go, okay, let's go again. The trap is that all you're going to do is try to reach the good take, repeat the good take. And like, no, because you
like, that was it.
You're going to fall short.
Yeah,
for sure. So it's like, you just have to, and I think you have to know yourself. Like, it was interesting, a lot of years ago, I did this movie, and I had a very small part in this movie called Little Black Book.
Okay.
And it was a very minor character, like it's all kind of behind the scenes of this like, talk show. And I was like the director in the booth. And, but it had like some really great people. Kathy Bates was in it, and Holly Hunter was in it, and
I was supposed to say, I feel like I know exactly what movie you're talking about.
Well, yeah. Brittany Murphy, the late Brittany. She was in it. But watching, what was interesting, and I've done a lot of television, which moves a lot faster than film. Yeah. And so here's this film, and I remember watching like Holly Hunter. I'm sitting and watching her work in a scene, and they do like take after take after take, and so they do the first handful of takes. I don't know, like 5 takes or whatever, and I'm just like, why? And why are we going again? Like, that was great. Like, let's just move on. And then they do another batch of takes, and it'd be like, so like the middle, another 5 to 10 takes, and she'd hit another level where you're just like, oh wow, that was amazing. Like, I know why we're going again. And then they do another batch of takes, and in that other batch of takes, she would start to deteriorate to a point of like, it would feel self-indulgent.
Yeah. And
I saw this happen like day in and day out. And so like from my, like just being able to observe, I was like, oh, so her rhythm is you're never going to use those last takes because they're self-indulgent. The first takes are kind of good, but her really great spot is that middle ground where she hits it and goes to another place. And then it's going to be horrible from here. And not to say that that's every actor's rhythm, because some actors, I think, knock it out of the park, and it doesn't get any better after that first couple. And then some actors, I guess you got to exhaust them until the point where the end is going to be their good work. But for her, it was always the middle.
Interesting.
It was really interesting to watch.
Interesting.
This episode is sponsored by Found Familiar. Found Familiar is a company that not only brings you amazing coffee, but believes in supporting creators. They team up with different artists and cosplayers from around the world to bring you specialty-grade coffee that celebrates the creativity sparked by Dungeons & Dragons and other TTRPGs. Found Familiar aims to do more than just provide caffeine for your groggy mornings and late-night sessions. They believe in using their platform to recognize the people that share those same passions, people that create stories, create characters, and create art. They showcase fantasy artwork and photos on their coffee, and that's why you will never see those pieces anywhere without credit to the creators. So head over to foundfamiliar.com and use code NERDSPRESSO, NERDSPRESSO, for 10% off your coffee order today. This episode is sponsored by Dryad Tea. Dryad tea was created February 2012 by a tea aficionado who also loves music. The first line of teas was created based on Pandora Celtica's music, characters, and world. Since then, they have created amazing tea blends inspired by music, mythology, literature, and just general geekery. In 2013, they added Dryad pottery, and Ruby has been creating amazing works of ceramic art to pair with the blends of Dryad tea. You can join their Tea of the Month Club, get a custom tea blend made, or you can shop the Goblin Market for tea infusers, enamel pins, and music. So head over to dryadtea.com and use code NERDSPRESSO, that's NERDSPRESSO, for 10% off your order today.
So, what did you think you would be doing for a living if you weren't going to be an actor?
Right. Starving. No, seriously.
No. But what did other than dreaming about flying and stuff like that, what did little Cress think?
I mean, it was funny because like little Cress always wanted to be an actor. Like,
really?
Yeah. I mean, I think when I was really little, all I knew was I wanted to perform. That's the word I would have said. Yeah. Is like, I want to be a performer. I grew up watching like tons of old movies and I loved old comics. So I liked Jerry Lewis and I loved, the whole Bob Hope Bing Crosby thing and Danny Kaye. Like these old black and whites, there were people who were like, what, why are you watching these films? It's like, because the television was my parent, my babysitter. So I was drawn to comedy more than anything else. But I always wanted to perform. I remember like being outside and this is, I was probably like 5th or 6th grade, and I remember like being outside with a bunch of friends, and they were like, well, what are we gonna do? And people were like, we were all throwing out ideas. They're like, oh, we could go play ball, we could go do this, and then I was like, we could have a singing contest. And I knew in my mind, I know. I knew as I said it, like I was like, I also knew that's not normal. Like I was like, nope, nobody else wants to do that.
Honestly, and this is one of my biggest pieces of advice to anyone that wants to, I put air quotes around this, wants to become an actor, is you literally have to eat, breathe, sleep this profession because you have to take the rejection. You have to be able to work towards it. And knowing that's what you wanted to do since you were a wee little dude. Yeah.
Then I never had anything else. I mean, I mean, and this was like at that time I knew that's what I wanted to do. Then I think somewhere, maybe a few years later, for some reason I just thought like maybe this is a phase. Like I think it was like me trying to like just double check it. And I was like, everybody, because I was also really a really introspective kid and observant kid, and so I recognized the fact that like if you polled children and you said, what do you want to be when you grow up, like a star or something, a performer of some way,
I want to be a rock star,
right, would be in their list. Like somewhere. They may say I want to be a firefighter, I want to be a baseball player, whatever, but like somewhere in there, like on a regular basis, was some kind of performer. So for a second I was like, maybe this is just a phase, maybe this is not true. But then probably within a year's time, after like trying to search in myself and everything, I was like, no, this is it. So by the time I was probably in 7th or 8th grade, I'm like, this is what I'm going to do. Yeah. And when adults would say, hey there, what do you want to be when you grow up? I'd say, I want to be an actor. And before they said anything, I was like, I'm prepared to starve. Yeah. And it was not, there was no other option for me. Like I was like, I'm going to do this.
There's a difference between wanting to be an actor and wanting to be famous.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Well, I was fortunate. Like I don't even know, as a kid, I don't know what my intentions were about that. I can't be, I would love to say in an honorable way that I've always just wanted to be an actor. I don't know.
But as a kid, I might have always something twinkly around it.
Right. And so it might have been about being a star. It might have been like, I know I just really enjoyed what I was watching, and that's what I wanted to do that. And then, like I said, I grew up really loving the comedians. Later on in high school, really loving like Michael J. Fox and I had this weird. I remember in my high school yearbook saying like, I wanted to be a cross between like Jerry Lewis, Eddie Murphy, which is like, where's that come from? Michael J. Fox, because there's this weird mix. But it was all comedians. But then there was a day, this moment that changed my life, where I remember coming home and watching the original Guys and Dolls, the old with, Brando and Frank Sinatra, and I loved it. I just like watching the movie and I was like, oh man, that's so good. And then a little while later, a short time later, I come home and my mother's watching The Godfather, and I'd never seen it before, and I just walk in and I start sitting down and watching this movie with her, and it took me a while, but I'm like, there's a guy, that guy, there's something familiar about that guy. And I kept sitting, and it finally dawned on me that was Marlon Brando. Yeah. I was like, oh my God, I just saw Marlon Brando singing and dancing in Guys and Dolls. Yeah. And I'm watching him now do The Godfather, and this light went off, and I was like, that's what I want. That's the type of actor I want to be. Yeah. You know, and I fortunately went to college and majored in theater, and the place where I went, like, they had like a love, like if anybody came in with this idea of being a star, they beat it right out. Like, because that wasn't their, it was like, no, we do this because we love it. Yeah. You know, and you had to learn everything. You had to paint sets, you had to learn how to stage manage and design lights and run lights, and like you had to, you know, all of it. And so the people who just wanted to be stars probably just kind of left. Yeah. And thankfully I got there and it just opened my eyes to like what this really means. Yeah. And the love of it, and the like to purely respect it, the honor of it, you know. Doing shows, doing a 2:00 matinee and going, wait, no, you can't party all night, because the audience that's coming into 2:00 matinee deserves the same show as the person who came to a night show. So you can't, like, all these things that just made me who I am, like, happened then. So
you're either gonna hate this story or you're gonna love this story. So my first musical that I did in college was before I was 21. Okay. And my first time getting like shwasty face drunk was on a Saturday night of performance weekend. And I went to the Sunday show totally hungover. Yeah. It was horrible. Pretty sure I threw up on the side of the road on the way to the theater. Yeah. It was awful because I had to sing and I had to dance, and it was a lesson of this sucks. Yeah. And I would rather be able to do my performance at 100% than this. Yeah.
Well, you have to learn those, you know, I had to learn it
But it's college.
Yeah. You have to learn it before you realize that this is not the way to go, you know, because I've had those experiences. Like, I was doing Hair the musical.
Oh, you did Hair.
Yeah, I did Hair the musical. And it was like, and oddly enough, my first time ever trying marijuana was while we were doing Hair the musical. And I tried it like the Saturday night, because in my college, we always, our last show was always the Sunday matinee. Right. And then we immediately went into strike. Yeah. So Saturday night was pretty much like you do that Saturday night show, and then the rap party would pretty much be that Saturday night. Right. But then yet you still had the show to do, you know? And so I was drinking, and I was like, you know, and for the first time I ever tried marijuana, and then the party got broken up early, and I go home and I sleep, and it wasn't until I remember, like, we had a caboose that was like, you know, stage center, and my first entrance during Aquarius was coming out of the middle of the caboose. And it wasn't until my first entrance that, like, as I come out of these love beads and the lights hit me, that I was like, oh, I think I'm still a little tipsy as I do the show, you know? And but you don't know until, you know, you have those experiences. And I did a show called Fate of a Cockroach. Okay. In college. It was a 3-act, I think it was a West African play. It was a long play. It was so long that us as actors were begging for our director to cut our lines. Like, that's how long this play was. And she thought it was just like Shakespeare. She was like, no, you value everything. We're not cutting anything. And I remember the day that we had 2 shows. I think we had a Saturday matinee and a Saturday night show.
2 shows in one day of that. Oh, man.
And we did our afternoon show, and then we went to lunch. And when we came back, somebody had a bag of like chocolate covered espresso beans. And I'd never had any of those before. Yeah. I think it was probably before I started drinking coffee. And I just started popping them and just popping them.
Because you don't think about it.
No, I wasn't thinking about it. Popping them. And then my first entrance started from the basement, of the theater. And I remember just like coming out and I was just so caffeinated. It was the best show ever because I delivered those lines lickety split. I was just like,
okay. Was it your best show or was it the best show?
I thought it was I think universally we thought it was the best show just because we all wanted this over with.
Yeah.
We just like, that was fast.
But you're
so
like,
therefore it was
my
good.
performance was on par.
It was, I would want to do it again because the come down was really hard and I was just like, wow, I'm really under like that was a lot of, it was a lot of caffeine. Because I didn't realize, I was just popping them. Just like, oh, this is tasty. Oh, yeah. And it wasn't until we started to go that I was just like, oh my God, I'm speaking like lightning. It's just, what is going on?
Oh, man.
But you have to you got to have those experiences, and especially you have to make the mistakes before you learn and go, this is probably not the best way to do this.
Yeah. So are you if your character has to be drunk or intoxicated or something, are you just like, you know what, I'll just figure it out?
Yeah. I am now. I mean, I've done those things again in college, with those things when you're young and going, okay, my character has to be drunk, and I would do them. I guess I would do them in a safe way. So when you're doing a play, right, and you knew I have this drunk scene or whatever, then I've done those, those things where you get drunk and try to maybe write down the sensations and all these different, try to just take it and soak it in. I was that person is my character has to be drunk, so I'm going to get drunk right before the show. Yeah. That's dangerous. That was just not. But I am the person who's like, okay, let me have the experience and record it for later.
That's interesting that you approach it from that way. Yeah. Where you're like, I'll just be drunk and then just, like you said, experience what my character would experience. Right. But you're not on stage doing it.
No, that's, oh my goodness.
That's
dangerous.
Does that ever go well for anybody?
I don't think so. Yeah. I don't think so. I think that's just called alcoholism. I think that's...
Yeah. It's just an excuse to drink.
It is. Yeah. No, so I never, I recognize the parameters, but I always liked working outside the box as well, trying things, my first Shakespeare, because earlier we were talking about Shakespeare, and my first, Shakespeare play, not just studying, but was I did Othello, and but actually no, before the play, when I was in class working on might have been working on Othello, and I just I don't know, for some reason the dialogue just felt stiff. Yeah. And I just tried this because I was like, this kind of makes sense. Is again, I'm a jazz fan, and so I would play loudly. Just some instrumental improvisational jazz. Okay. And then as it was playing, it was saying my lines and almost just trying to break out of this rigidity of going I'm gonna vocally kind of play with these lines with the notes of this to try to break. So I would always try these just experimental things. Nobody kind of writes in a book. And just say, let me see if this works.
Helps you get out of that funk.
Yeah. Because I would try wild things. I was always known, especially when I was in school, known for trying different things to prepare for a show. Yeah. And the thing is that nothing would ever work twice. Yeah. They would all work once, but then I was like, okay, when I try it the next day, it would just be kind of this is stale. Yeah. Now I need something else. So I did a play called Extremities, which they made a movie out of it, and it's the same as the movie, where it's this woman who has two female roommates, and her two female roommates go off to work that morning, and she's left at home by herself, and then this guy comes to the door who just kind of talks to her as if he knows her and as if he knows somebody else, and he basically slowly manipulates his way into the house and then attempts to rape her. Oh. She gets the better upper hand and locks him in a fireplace, and then he's trying to manipulate his way out of it, and she decides it backfires on him because he's trying to convince her he doesn't rape her, she gets the upper hand before, so he's are you gonna call the cops, or what are they gonna, I'll lie and say this, you have nothing, there's no, so she decides, I'm gonna kill you and bury you in the backyard. And
like you do.
Yeah, exactly. Like you do. And then her 2 roommates come home, and there's this kind of weird thing that's going on where they're trying to like, he's trying to manipulate the roommates, and they're like, she's crazy. Like, I just came here, my truck broke down. I just came here to use the phone. Like, all this weird stuff happens.
Yeah.
And so I was playing this character, and like, I had different nights preparing where like one night I sat in my dressing room and I kind of laid on a couch, and like the character, I talked to myself as if I was talking to a therapist.
Yeah.
Like, as if like, okay, you do this, you rape and da-da-da-da. Let's talk about it.
Like, you're trying to justify it? Not justify it,
just kind of get in his head. Because
yeah.
I'd done psychological studies on rapists and all these different things. And that really worked that night. Like, I had a great show. And then the next night, I tried to do that, and I'm like, no, this doesn't work. So I did something really unorthodox that next night, and we were on a college campus, and I had plenty of time, so I started walking around the campus, and I didn't touch anybody, but just walking around, like looking at different women and going, that's a good mark, because I think I can overpower her. That's a good mark, but that's not a good mark because she's got people around her. Or that person, like almost like sizing up different people to go, why would that person be easy to rape as opposed to this person? And then I had a good show that night. But then, of course, that's not going to work the next night. Like, I was always kind of like...
the things we do as actors.
Right? I know. Right? Well, 'cause it's all about the performance.
Right. So, but my last episode, we kind of talked a little bit about method acting and how most method acting is typically super unsafe for not only the actor doing it, but the people around him. Yeah. And so, like, it's when you're like, walking around campus, just like sizing up people, but like,
in the safety,
exactly, you're in the safety of your own head. Essentially,
I'm not going to
act on it. You're not gonna. At all. You're not just like approaching people trying to like hone in your performance on.
No, because
trying to sweet talk them into.
Exactly. I mean, I'm not a pseudo. I don't like. I've studied, fortunately, a lot of different styles of acting, and method was kind of. There are people who are very like stout disciples of the method, and I was really lucky that I didn't meet one of those teachers until like near the end of my college career. So I had already kind of built up a lot of other things and a confidence in myself. I mean, this teacher was just like, the method is the only way. Like these are her quotes. Like, it's like the only way. The method always works. If it doesn't work, you're doing it wrong. Oh, no. If you're not using it, you're just faking. Like, other people who don't use it are just faking. Like, these are the things that were coming out of her mouth. And I was like, again, I had been around enough and had a lot of different teachers to just go like, okay, I believe in a bag of tricks. Like, I believe in like, you grab as much as you can because in any given moment, not everything works, right? So I believe the method is valid, but it's not the only way. Right. And I even fooled her at times. I remember doing like doing a scene, and she was like raving about it, and she's like, "Oh, you were using this, right?" And I was like, "Oh yeah." Oh yeah, totally. Not using it. Absolutely. At all. Not using it. Whatever. So I just think. I just believe, because I actually really have a hard time with a lot of actors. There are actors in Hollywood who get. Because the performance that's on camera or we see on film is deemed a good performance. Their self-indulgent, dangerous behavior is allowed. Yeah. And encouraged. And I just like, it doesn't have to be that way. Because you're putting yourself and other people at risk. Yeah. And there are other ways to achieve, like, other people. I understand that, like, creatives, sometimes you have your specific way of doing it because you know how your brain works. Yeah. But, like you said, you pull from everywhere. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with, like you said, studying method, but also having other resources to pull from because you can achieve the same level of performance. Exactly. Yeah. From those aspects as well, if you work for it. Yes. Yeah. The same way you would work doing your method. Yeah, exactly. Oh, it's totally fine. Okay, cool. So, that's what happens when eventually. we're in a house. Yeah, it'll hit the machine in a minute. I think it's there. It did. It's totally fine. It's atmosphere. Well, I just think, when I think a lot of times when people do those self-indulgent things that are dangerous, I'm like, that's not acting. Can you go study, please? Like, right. Can we do that? Don't mail dead things to your castmates in the mail. Don't punch someone on purpose because you think that's what you need. It's like, no. In the moment when it's not prepped.
Like,
right.
Don't just like feel like you need to just start a fight on set to reach a place.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of those things.
And we also kind of talked about like doing your own stunts and like to the point of if you get seriously hurt or die, like people are out of jobs.
Oh yeah. Well, some of that's a misnomer, you know. I mean, a lot of times now that I've been doing Black Lightning for a lot of years and kind of being around the stunt community, I mean, because I see it's in some ways it's actually a pretty small community.
Yeah.
And I've seen people that come work with us on Black Lightning, and then I'm off watching a big Marvel movie or whatever, and I'm like, oh hey, that's awesome.
It's really cool to like see people on
right?
like other projects, and you're like,
And you realize that a lot of this whole like, oh, so and so does his own stunts, when you're like, it's not quite true. That they're kind of like, they're just lying, honestly. Yeah. And I feel sorry for the stunt community, because there are a lot of people who are like, wait, I know there's like 3 people who doubled that guy. And he's saying he did his own stunts.
And that brings up the subject of like, stunts is not a category that's recognized at the Oscars.
No, I know, which is ridiculous. And it's
horrible, because what would your project be without stunts?
It would be
horrible.
It'd be pretty boring. I mean, I'm like, almost 50. I have bad knees. And my stunt double is an amazing guy who's like, he's not only has he studied martial arts like pretty much most of his life, he even like taught it for a period of times. And he's just amazing. And
Eric is so cool.
He is. And he's like, the nicest person in the world. Yeah. And I told him, I said, no, dude, I don't have an ego. Like, you go for it. You go do it. And I'm going to always give you credit. Yeah. Because I'm like, this is make-believe. Like, let's not, this is entertainment. This is make-believe. I'm not going to try to create this persona that it's not. Yeah. And the thing is like, because I've been on set, and it's not even a matter of like me insisting that I do my own stunts. Like, I remember, this is like episode 1. I always tell this story about like, this is proof of what really happens. And it is like, there was just a simple moment where in the very first episode where I was supposed to like electrocute an electric panel at a hotel, and they had it rigged to like, safely
spark
explode.
And do
and so they were like, okay, we're gonna do this right now, and they were like, okay, so if we have Cress do this, like, how close can he be? And I didn't say, I'm just listening to them talk. And they're like, well, if you want Cress in this shot, well, he has to stand in. It was like clear. They were like, he's got to stand way back here. Yeah. And I'm like, okay. And the director's like, okay, well, wait. And I guess that was too far that he was like, so what if Eric does it? And they're like, oh, if Eric does it, he can stand right up there. Yeah. And the difference is like, he wasn't wearing any more safety equipment than I was. He wasn't like trained in any it wasn't even about a matter of training. Yeah. It was, the sparks were going to be the same. He didn't have any equipment or anything that was going to protect him more. It was simply like, they were like, if he gets hurt, everything shuts down. If he gets hurt, it sucks. We don't want him to get hurt, but we just keep going. Right. And that's the reality. So this idea when people say like, oh, so-and-so did all their own stunts, I like, that's a lie. Because they wouldn't let you do that.
Right. Because again, it's a liability.
It is.
Because if you get seriously hurt or die,
everything
shuts down. Like, not only do people lose money, but people lose their jobs that they're banking on for that certain amount of time because this industry is so like inconsistent. Right. And you never know when the next project is going to come along. Or even if you have something lined up, it could fall through.
Oh, totally.
And so you always have to prepare for the worst, essentially. Yeah.
Well, when it comes to stunts too, it's
don't put your ego before.
There's so many aspects of a stunt. So I mean, I guess they're kind of, when people say, "Oh, I did my own stunts," they're telling a bit of a. It's a half truth. Like, they probably did some aspects of it under real safe circumstances. Like, I've like, jumped off a building and that was a lot of fun. But it was also like weeks and weeks of wire work and training in a warehouse and jumping off of large platforms and all that. So it's like
making sure you're not gonna
exactly. And so the jumping off of the building part, like I literally, that was all me 100%. But then when it came into this like fancy, really cool martial arts kick, that's Eric.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to like, okay, now it's this punch, or then that might be me.
Yeah.
And then it comes
depending
to
on how close they have to be to your face.
Exactly. So it's always a mixture of both.
Yeah.
But I think, when people they don't really reveal that. They don't say, yeah, I did some of my own stunts and I have a really good stunt double. They just say, oh, I did all my own stunts.
Because it's an ego thing.
It is.
And it's like, come on, put your ego aside.
Right.
Like, it is a collaborative community.
It is.
You have to have these people
Right.
for your project to go through. There's no room for ego here.
Exactly. I mean, when we're doing theater, we're not claiming like, yeah, you're doing if you're on stage, like, yeah, I was doing Hamlet and I also lit myself as well. And,
Yep.
Yeah, I sewed my own costumes. And, like, it's not true. We know it's a collaborative thing. So it's like, give people their due.
Yeah.
And let's acknowledge the collaboration. Let's make sure that everybody in the community gets their due credit.
The background extras are just as important as the director.
When people go to the movies or they watch you on television, like there is a part of their brain that hopefully, because if it's not, they have to go see somebody, that they know that it's not real. They know it's not true. They know that they're watching something that's been created. It's make believe. The people who think that it's 100% real need to go see somebody.
Yeah.
So let's just acknowledge it.
So, what is the story, as we're talking about stunts, what's the story behind your face becoming a legit mask for Eric to wear?
Yeah.
Because
that's really awesome.
That got passed around the crisis thing.
Yeah, that's another thing that nobody else had. Nobody else had. Because...
And it's so freaky.
It is really weird. Yeah, I mean...
Because
it's me without any emotion.
Yeah, and it's... so lifelike, but it's only like the front half of your face.
Yes, yeah. It was our stunt guy, our stunt coordinator, I think, brought it up at the very end of season 2 last year that they do this. Yeah. He brought it up. He was just talking about certain things. Again, that I wasn't aware of, like apparently, like on high budget things like Marvel movies and things like that, where they have the on movies basically where they have the budget.
Like I've seen the one of Zoe Saldana.
They have a mask
of her half Gamora face, and it's
I didn't know they had that.
It's like really unsettling.
Well, they apparently too. If you ever see like a stunt person with a lot of dots on their face, like they can actually face replace.
Right. So, but that's my that's
really
my question.
Expensive.
Exactly. Is this like the cheaper and probably more effective?
It is a cheaper version.
Because I feel like that looks like you, especially from far away.
Yeah. Yeah.
For what Eric has to use it for.
Oh, for sure.
Then
it's definitely the cheaper version. Yeah. But it is more effective. I mean, he talked about the face replacement, and he's like, they do that on like a lot of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies and all these different things, and he's like, we can't afford that. He's like, oh, but they can make a mask. Yeah. And I was like, really? And I just said, yeah, that would be awesome. And I didn't even push it. I was just like, yeah, that would be awesome. And the next thing I know, while we're making a new suit, they're like, yeah, we're doing a mask. And when first time I saw it was like the weirdest thing, because it was in a box. Oh. And it was covered in plastic. So it was like seeing myself being like my head in a box.
Displayed.
Like being suffocated, basically. I was like, it took a while to get used to it. But then when we went to the crisis, like nobody else has that. Yeah. Like they didn't have that technology or whatever.
Well, but Grant's head is like half covered.
So that's the thing.
So it's easy to essentially switch him out.
Exactly. Because he's got like pretty much half of his head.
You just have to get someone with the same chin
as
him.
Yeah. So with me and Eric, because the goggles are the only thing that are kind of covering the face. Yeah. And it's great. I mean, honestly, because
everyone loves it.
Because it just makes life so much easier. I'm just like, dude, you do it.
Yeah.
Because also the thing is, like on a television show, on an action television show, you're doing so many episodes, and the train is just. There's always a new fight to learn. There's always new stunts. Right. But you're still going. It's like when we did the pilot, the first episode. We had weeks to rehearse. And you knew exactly what fights were going to happen. You had weeks to rehearse them. You knew exactly what stunts were going to happen. You had weeks to rehearse them. And that's all we were doing. Yeah. But then once you're in production, and like me as like the lead actor, I'm like
22 episodes.
It's just you don't have time to literally learn every single fight while you're still filming.
Right.
You don't have days off. You don't have all these other things.
Exactly. And so while you're doing regular Jefferson stuff or non-action Black Lightning stuff, Eric can be off learning those fights. Yeah. And honing it in and making it and getting it ready.
Right. Exactly. And then the mask allows it to look like 100%. And so there's very little I have to do. And I'm like, all I care about is the end result. Right. I just want it to look good, you know? And stunt people also love doing it. Like he loves doing it. He loves things. He loves falling. He loves.
I worked on a short film that I did, and we had this action sequence, and it's right in front of a huge staircase. And my stunt guy opposite me was like, "You realize that, like, I brought my stuff, and I have to fall down this flight of stairs, right?" And I was like, "Go for it. If that's what you want to do, we can make it work."
He wants to do it.
Like, he literally wanted to throw himself down these marble stairs. Yeah. And he was padded up and everything. Right. Like, totally safe. Yeah. But it was, like, the fact that he was just so, like, Ashley, like, I have to throw myself down these stairs. Like, this is a prime opportunity. Right. Yeah, they get excited for that, you know. And I love it because, like, I mean, Eric is, like, a good friend now. And, you know, when I'm off filming, he is in the other side of the building, rehearsing. And so for him to be rehearsing a fight and all this stuff, all this time, and then we get to filming, and then he doesn't get to do it. Like he doesn't get to like actually do all these things he's rehearsed and played at. Like, no, like you get to do that. You get to enjoy yourself. And I get to relax. Yeah, right? I get to just like chill and just watch the magic happen. Yeah, totally. Come in and fill in the pieces. But I love that you have like your team of like Eric, who's he's the other side of you. Yeah. And then you have like Dustin and Chris. And they're kind of they're your superhero bodyguards, and you've all just kind of become, and even like a team. Eric and Chris and Dustin have all also become friends, and everyone is close, and your little team is just y'all are all friends now. It's not even just like for us. It's not just like both Eric and Dustin and Chris. It's like, it's not just we're a team and like we all have our jobs, but it's also that part of our jobs is being friends. Yeah. Part of our jobs is like you have to put up with each other. Keeping possibly 14 hours a day. Like, on some level, we're all like there's different level of nerd. Yes. But we're all nerds. Yes. And to a certain degree, like I'd have to be honest, like Dustin's like the upper level nerd. Like I'm like, dude, like if there's I remember the other day we were talking about something like, somebody made me like a little 3D, they had a 3D printer and they made a 3D Baby Yoda for me. And he's like, do you want one? I'm like, oh my God, yeah. And as I was walking, Dustin like jokingly was just like, nerd. And I was like, wait a minute. I go, dude, if there's like a nerd punch card, like yours is all full. Right? No, like, and when Dustin and I started dating, I was like, I like comics and Star Wars and stuff. And he was all like, I LARP and I cosplay and I play Dungeons and Dragons. And I was like, you're a nerd. He's another level. But he's also kind of like brought me like into that. Like the LARPing, I haven't LARPed yet. I haven't done that. Yeah. But everything else, he's just brought me into the. Well, that's what's really great. It's like a great thing. Is like we're all of us are nerdy on some level, and so I can only speak. For me, it's like being in these long hours of being on set. Like I value the fact that there's Dustin and there's Chris and there's Eric, and we can sit and talk about things. Yeah. Like, oh, dude, did you see Mandalorian? Yeah. Oh, man. Oh, you know what? You haven't seen this. You need to check this out. And we like convene on, me and Dustin talking D&D and like all these different things. 'Cause it's like we become more than just like a team. It's like we're friends. That you're also kind of helps a little mini family too. Exactly. Especially when we went to Vancouver. It's like we just, all of us were there. The four of you just literally picked up and went to Canada. And we could all talk to each other and like, they have carpet in their tents. and things like that. That we're like, oh my God. This is so cool. This is so cool. So, but okay, as a huge comic book nerd, what was it, how amazing was it to finally get to be a part of something that big and basically get to form the Justice League. Yeah, that was the thing. For the small screen. That was pretty awesome. I mean, the thing was, because we were filming, and
Black Lightning gave me a few days off to fly off to Vancouver.
Mm-hmm.
I fly out to Vancouver, I do the thing, and then come back and immediately go to work.
Yeah.
So I was kind of in this space where I was like, okay, I'm not going to read. Like, I did not read what I had to do with the crossover until I was on the plane going to Vancouver.
Really?
So I was like, okay, I'm actually going.
Yeah.
And I start reading.
Because you knew as soon as you read it, that's all you were going to be able to think about.
Right. It's like, and it's also, it's kind of the way my mind, I choose to work.
Yeah.
Like, in every aspect. Like, even when it's time to memorize for film, like, I memorize the night before what I have to do that day. I do that day, and it was not until I go home that then I throw away what I did that day, and then I'm like, no, I'm going to memorize what I need to do tomorrow. Like, that's the rhythm. So it was kind of like my rhythm of like, when I get on the plane to go to Vancouver, now that I'm crossover.
Yeah.
So now I will read the crossover and focus on that.
How hard did you nerd out?
When I saw the whole Justice League thing, I was just like, the table, and I was like, and I read that, I was like, and then the Gleek at the end, I was just like, really?
I get to be a part of this.
Really? And I think at that point I had seen already, I was fully caught up, and I had seen all the Young Justice as well.
Yeah.
So I was really excited, and like that was really moving. There were a couple things I was really excited about. I wanted to do the scene with Grant in the library.
Y'all were so good.
Because it was a moment where we get to humanity steps in. It's not like
it was
action,
so good.
You know.
It was one of the highlights of the crossover.
Yeah, it was so much fun, and that was like, so that it was interesting. That was the actor in me. Like, that was the actor reading that scene, going, "This is gonna be fun," because this is like one of those moments where you get to act.
Yeah.
And then when we started to film it, and me and Grant were talking, and he's a theater kid.
Yep.
And he, for being so young, he's a perfectionist, and like there's a lot of things that we had in common. So doing the scene was so much fun, and also so effortless and fast. Because I felt like we were both doing our thing. We also had a director who was just like, if he got what he wanted, he was cool to move on. He wasn't like, let's do a lot of takes.
Yeah.
So it was this thing that was like, boom, it was over. Oh my God, that was so much fun. And then the geek in me was excited about the last day because I wanted to see the table and I wanted to do the whole table and sitting and all that stuff. And those are just like, those are awesome moments, you know. I'm hoping, I can't wait. I'm hoping that we have that the whole Justice League. I hope that's the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, because hopefully you get to. It's fine. Like,
I think it's probably Dustin.
It's probably Dustin
up
there preparing pork chops and stuff.
Oh, right. That's why. Yeah, he's probably getting the grill going.
But are you hoping that you get to move Jefferson into more of that? I call it the Justice League dad role.
Yeah.
He's essentially kind of takes over for Batman as leader, kind of, and just kind of.
I hope so, because I mean, it's funny because I mean that's what happened in Young Justice. Like, he takes over, and was totally surprising. Like,
he's so paternal with everybody,
right? And you go, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And then, but if you look at our the DC television live action universe, it makes sense as well.
Yeah,
like, I'm the oldest out of all of them, so feasibly I've been doing it.
And Jefferson has been a superhero longer
than everyone.
Exactly.
So it makes sense, both animated and live action. It would be a lot of fun. Yeah.
So what did you do to prepare when you got cast as Black Lightning? Like, what did you do to prepare? Did you go straight to the comics and just kind of dive head first, or did you kind of already have like a background knowledge of?
I did a little. I mean, fortunately, like, so there's a couple of things. Like, fortunately, since probably when I was 40, I got into really, really working out. So that part of my life is already like ingrained. Like, I work out like. Back then, I used to work out at least like 2 hours a day, and that was when I used to go to the gym. Like, I have to physically get up and go to the gym. It really wound up being like about 2.5 hours. And then, as my family increased and I got married, it was just like, I need to make a home gym because I don't like to have to physically leave leave the family like 5 days a week for 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
So I was like, let me create a home gym. So I've had a home gym like even before Black Lightning was a thing.
Yeah.
And I would always work out there. And so that was already in me, and I just kind of it just added motivation.
Yeah.
And then I dove into all the comics, like because I honestly I wasn't aware of Black Lightning. I hadn't read any Black Lightning comics.
Okay.
So they made them all available to me, and I read all the comics. And honestly, the first thing was the script. Like the very first episode of Black Lightning, the pilot script like made the hair on my neck stand on end, just because it felt so real. And it also, like, I thought I was just going to read and be like, yeah, I can't wait. I want to play this superhero. Like, this is cool. But then when I read it, it felt so real. And Jefferson, like, I connected with him on another level.
I was about to ask, like, what your connection level with Jefferson is.
It was just because it's just, you know, family. We have the family thing.
Right.
And family is very, very important to me, you know. Like, I wouldn't have taken Black Lightning if the whole family wasn't like, okay, we're all going to move to Atlanta. Like, 'cause I don't like being away from I don't like being away from my family, like, ever.
Right.
You know? And so that's very important to me. And I could identify from that point. You know, education, he was a teacher, and education seems very important to him. It was always very important to me to go to college. Like, even though as a child I knew that I wanted to be an actor, but I also knew I want to go to college.
Right.
I want to finish college. I want to, this is the route that I want, and education is paramount. And I taught acting for 8 years, like training, and whatever craft, whatever thing you're doing, to me, training is imperative. And so we connected in that front, and like, it just, when I read it, it was just something about, it was interesting. Like, I thought I was going to be all about the superhero, but when I read it, I was like, I understand Jefferson
as a person
instantly.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have to now do work to understand Black Lightning, where I thought it would be the other way around. It was like, no, I understand Jefferson is just in me. Now I got to figure out the Black Lightning.
You're going to have to figure out how to be a superhero.
Right. You know, that extra part of it is almost like the soundtrack in your head. It's
right.
Dude, kicking butt, da da da, you know.
We all want to be a superhero until we have to play a superhero on TV, and then you don't know what to do.
You don't know what to do. But when I read that first script, I mean, it was like, I remember finishing reading it, and I gave it to my wife. I'm like, you have to read this. And she read it, and she was like, whoa. I'm like, yeah, right? Like, I don't think she understood it as well. I was like, yeah. And I didn't want to admit it, like, but it was kind of like this thing. Honestly, when I first read it, I was like, I think this is mine. This was like, and this is just reading it to then prepare to audition.
Oh,
but,
really?
Yeah, it wasn't like I got this job. It was just like, I read the script, like, hey, you have an audition. Read the script.
Okay.
I read the script, and I was kind of like, I didn't want to admit it, because as actors, you have those moments where you're like, oh, this is my job, and it's not.
Yeah.
You know, and so I was just hesitant to like admit it, but I was like, I think I'm supposed to do this, and I couldn't think of anybody, and it's not an ego thing, but I just couldn't think of anybody else who could do it.
I can't think of anybody else I would want.
I mean, I could think of people. I thought of actors who, because of the Hollywood system, who was like, oh man, they probably gonna get this person. But if I was looking at it just from an artist standpoint, going, who should do this? I was like, I can't think of anybody else.
Yeah.
But in my mind, I kept thinking like, no, they have somebody, they have some star waiting in the wings to take this role. But you know, it just felt right. You know, even down when I had my very first audition, it was I had the audition, and later on that day, my oldest daughter was in a choir concert.
Yeah.
And it was clear across town. Like, I was all the way on the other side of town. And this was like in LA. I was on my motorcycle, you know, and I remember going into the audition, and I went into the audition room, and I forgot to sign in. Like, I got there, and I just immediately started running lines, and then I realized, oh crap, I forgot to sign in. And all these other actors had signed in ahead of me. And I'm already going, I got to get out of here because I got to get to this choir concert, right? And I just say it's like nothing but God. Completely out of order, they just call out Cress. I'm like, wait, really? What?
Already?
And I was like, and I looked to the other actors. I'm like, hey, like I do have to go, but can I go? Is this okay? And they're like, yeah, cool. And I go into the audition room, and they're like, hey. And I'm like, yeah, thank you so much, because my daughter's in this choir concert, and I got to get to this choir concert. And they're like, well, let's get you to this choir concert. And I did the audition. I felt good, and I left. But it was so. It was very much a Jefferson thing.
I was about to say, like
Jefferson would be doing something going, I gotta go.
You'd be like, I gotta go be Black Lightning, but I also have to go, like, deal with my family.
Right, exactly. And I remember, like, I rode all the way home, and and to the point where I was like, I'll meet you at the school.
Yeah.
And I rode my motorcycle up to the school, and I made it. I was totally on time. But it was like, you know, like, it wasn't like, oh, okay, I'll get in the car with everybody. I'm like, you guys go. I'll meet you there.
Yeah.
I got there, saw the concert and everything, and then, like, and then I rode my, you know, back home. But it was like, even my life was playing out like what his life plays out to me.
So did you immediately, when you read the script, did you say, this is me?
I did. I felt like this,
because they're those certain comic book characters that you find that you're like, I feel like I'm reading about me.
Yeah.
And for me, that's reading Batgirl comics. Is I just like, I read Barbara stuff, and I'm just like, it's like they wrote about me. Like, this is so weird. Yeah. Like, she's so much like me.
Yeah.
And that's one reason why I love dressing up as her.
Right.
And you know, I want to play. That's my dream.
That would be awesome, right? Yeah.
Is to be Batgirl on screen at some point ever.
Well, that's the toughest thing, is because I've had those moments. Like, I guess it's tough as an actor. I've had those moments, you know, where you read something and you immediately identify with it, and I've had those moments where I've read something and said, I'm getting this.
Yeah.
Like, almost in this.
And you immediately get attached to it because you love it so much and you identify with it so hard.
And I've had those moments where I've had that connection and had this sense of confidence of like, this is my role, and it happens, like it becomes my role. But I've also had those where I feel just as strong, and it doesn't, and somebody else gets it.
Yeah.
And you know, and so it's always hard. I mean, literally just like, I think a couple of weeks ago, something that I read, I auditioned for like months ago, that I just thought, this is my role. And it was like either last week or the week before, finding out that was somebody else.
Yeah.
And not only, but like somebody, I'm like, I got to be honest, I'm like, oh my God, they're totally wrong for this role. They're not even right for it. But so when you encounter those moments, you're like, this is me. I know this inside and out. It's hard because you're like, this could happen or it could not happen.
And I really want it.
And I really want it, and it's painful when it doesn't.
Yeah.
You know, it really is.
So, Cress, did you ever think you would be playing a superhero for your job?
I did. No, honestly, I did. I kind of went in and out of this. It's a good segue because it's something I always wanted to do.
Yeah.
Especially once like they started making so many television shows and movies and things. I was like, I want to do this. I want to do this really badly. I thought it was going to happen. I mean, I'm 6'5".
Yeah.
And
Are you really that tall?
Yeah.
Obviously you're so tall.
Yeah. I'm 6'5".
You're almost a whole foot taller than me.
Right. I mean, I'm built really. I got like broad shoulders. I remember somebody.
You are built like a superhero.
Right. When they cast me, the costume designer, she was like, "Oh my God!" Like she's like, usually we have to try to make somebody shorter look bigger and taller. Or whatever. She's like, you are built like a superhero. Like, so I did kind of think that this was going to happen, but then I've had a lot of like misses, you know, and like the most recent one before Black Lightning was actually Luke Cage, where I had a friend of mine had made me aware of Luke Cage, that it was coming eventually. Yeah. And so I was like, I want to do this. I want to play this. Yeah. And a friend of mine he actually was writing for Jessica Jones and then also Luke Cage. So the audition comes and I go to audition. Yeah. And it went really well. Like I was like, yeah, I know this. It went really well. To the point where I get home, like the next day, he was like, dude, we saw your tape in the room. Everybody raved about you. Oh my God. So I'm like,
that's even harder.
This might happen. And then, you know, time passes and all of a sudden I'm reading some like trade magazine and it says something about these are the people that are up for Luke Cage and my name's not in it. Oh. And I'm just like, oh. And then I'm like mourning that. And I remember like the day before Thanksgiving, I'm working out and he texts me like, dude, I'm working really hard. And I'm like, no, I read that it's like, I'm not, you know, and he's like, no, don't believe everything you read. So then my hope comes back. Yeah. Literally. And then 2 days later, he's like, sorry dude. Yeah. So like, it was like this.
By the way, you didn't get it.
Totally. Oh, okay. And you know, at that point, you know, I'm like, I'm older. And at that was probably the last thing where I was like, maybe this is not going to happen. Maybe this thing that I thought was going to happen is not going to happen. Maybe this dream. Yeah. It's just, I mean, I'm going to be a working actor, but maybe this part is just not going to happen. And then, you know, which is kind of what when Black Lightning came about, like hearing that they were making a show called Black Lightning, reading the script, going in audition, like there was a part of me that was trying to protect myself.
Right.
From not
because
fully
you're like,
believing.
I want this so bad, but I can't let my hopes get up.
I can't
just
get crushed
in case.
again.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it worked out. So it kind of was, I guess, in the beginning, I always thought I was going to do it. Then I was like, maybe it's not going to happen. And then it happened.
Well, I can't think of a better person to play Black Lightning.
Oh, thank you.
So it's pretty perfect. Obviously, because you got the job. And you're going into season 4. So you must be doing something right. I
guess so, yeah.
So, and hopefully you get to stick with this gorgeous suit that you have.
Yes, yeah. So, I got no complaints about this suit.
Good, because it's, again, gorgeous.
Yeah.
And I'm glad it's so much more comfortable for you.
Yeah. Dustin's glad too, because everybody was like, because when people would see me in the suit, they're like, hey man, how's it going? And I would just be in a bad mood.
Yeah.
I'd just be like, look, if I'm in the suit, it's never going well.
Yeah.
And
just
so
don't,
now I'm
just
like,
don't,
hey, what's up? How you doing?
Unless you're giving me specific direction in the scene, don't talk to me.
Yeah, exactly. Now it's like, no, I'm fine.
So where can we find you on the internet?
Oh, wow. I don't know my handles. I mean, I'm Instagram, Cress Williams, I believe. Just look for that little authorized thing.
I was about to say, you got the fancy little check mark by your name on
I got
Twitter.
check marks for everything.
So,
Twitter, Facebook, yeah. I'm all over those places.
So, are you ready to go eat some pork chops?
I am. I see your hubby. I mean, well, soon to be
almost hubby.
Almost hubby.
Almost.
I haven't seen him since our last day of shooting.
I know. So we're
gonna
gonna sign off and hope everyone's jealous because we got some like 2-inch thick pork chops that we're gonna go scarf down some mac and cheese and stuff. So we'll see everyone next time. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this. This has been so much fun.
Oh, no problem.
So, and we're gonna see everyone next time. Bye.